Alright, so for question 6 and 7 we have some nutritional information about two different items on a menu in grams, and we're told here that we consume 123 grams of carbohydrates. So here's the carbohydrates here. Now we can use the information here to relate this to systems of equations by giving each of these items a variable. So if we call this breakfast burrito X and the egg muffin Y, we can form an equation here. So for the carbs we have 21 carbs for every breakfast burrito, so 21x we could say, plus we might be eating some egg muffins, in which case we have 27 carbs for every egg muffin. And so what we've done here is we've made an equation from this information that we can use to help solve the problem. We're also told 77 grams of protein, and you can pause the video and go ahead and make this equation. So we should see that the protein's over here. So 13 times x plus 17 for each egg muffin, and we're told that the total was 77 for that. So we can see, if we look here straight away, we see that it's not easy to isolate any of the variables. It's not easy to calculate, it requires some long multiplication, but we do have our graphics display calculator to help us solve this. So we can plot both of these equations in there. So let's do that together. So start by going to the home. We want to create a graph. Here we go. Now if the equation doesn't come up for you straight away, don't panic. We can have the equation up there just by clicking on tab. So now we have this equation with the form f of x equals something, and we know that we could represent that as y. Now our equations are in general form, so what we need to do is to convert them into a form that we can put into our calculator. So for this first equation, okay, we should be back on track here now. So for this first equation, we can isolate the y variable, so it's 27y. Now it's going to be equal to 123 minus 21x. And so simplifying that so that y is the subject of the equation, 123 minus 21x, all divided by 27. Now that's a function we can put in, so let's see if we can remember that. 123 minus 21x divided by 27. So go back to our display here to type the fraction. Easiest way, I think, is control division. So it's 123 minus, you can use this one, but we'll use the subtraction to be more accurate. I think it was 21, oh yeah, we can see it on the side there, 21x divided by 27. And enter to display that on our graph. Now, what we should notice here, we see that there are negative values, but in our for the values that we're talking about here, we're only talking about positive values. We can't have negative grams. So to show the values that make sense, what we can do is just rearrange this, just clicking and dragging, so that we're just looking at the positive values, because they're the really important, that's the important part of the graph. So now let's go back and have a look at the second equation. It's slightly repetitive. You can pause and fast forward the video to go ahead and try this yourself. It's exactly the same thing as before, isolating y, so we have 17y equals 77 minus 13x. Last step is to divide by 17. So we have 77 minus 13x divided by 17. Right, so let's plug this into our calculator. 77, so we need to have another F2, there we go, just pressing tab. Again, the division, control divide. What did we say? I've forgotten already. 77 minus 13x. 77 minus, again, you can fast forward the video. You don't have to wait for me to type this. Over 17. And enter. And there we go. So it looks like the two graphs are identical, but our intuition sort of tells us that it's not. And we're asking the question, how many of each item did we eat during the week? So we want the value of x and the value of y. So what we're after in this graph is the intersection point of these. Now, to make this a bit clearer, we can use our menu and the window. We can change the window settings. So remember, we only wanted the positive values, so maybe we could say x minimum is 0, and x maximum, well, if we look on the graph, let's just try something and see how we go. Let's try 5. And same for the y values here. Y minimum 0 and 5, let's say. Okay. And so we're starting to see a little bit of deviation there. The blue one's above the line there and then below on this side. So we're saying that the intersection is somewhere in between those, and we could zoom in more and more to make that clearer. But let's just see how we go here with our intersections. Let's see if the calculator is good enough to do this for us. If we analyse the graph with the intersection, option number 4, you could just click 6 and 4. So we think it's somewhere on the lower bound, somewhere here, and there it is. So the calculator picks it up as the intersection there, 2, 3. So in terms of our solution, 2, 3, so if we, I'll have to change this. All right, back on the pen now. So remembering that our solution was 2, 3, well, that meant that 2 was the x value and 3 was the y. So let's check. 3 egg muffins for the egg muffin, that was our y value, and 2 for the breakfast burrito, which was our x values. So that's how we find the solution. We can graph both equations, first write the equations, graph them and find the intersection. So let's do the same thing for question 7. 129 grams of carbohydrates. This is the same sort of idea. So we had our carbohydrates equation was 21x plus 27y, and that was 129. And 69 grams of fat this time, so 68 for fat. This time we're looking over here, so we're using these numbers here. 20x and 12y. 20x plus 12y equals, what do we say, 68. So we could use our calculator very quickly. I'll just go ahead and type this and you can do the same. So if you've done everything correctly, hopefully you have these same 2 equations here and the intersection point of 1, 4, which if we go back to our question meant that we had 4 egg muffins, remembering egg muffin was the y, and 1 breakfast burrito. But there's also another way we could do this one by hand. It's not too difficult. We can see here that the coefficients of x are different by just by 1, so we could subtract these and solve this simultaneously. So we might just do that here as an exercise. Okay, so if we try and solve these ones just by subtracting here, we get x and plus 15y is equal to 61 here. So what we could do is we could find a value for x here, so x is equal to 61 minus 15y. Substitute that back into, probably this one would be the easiest, and let's see what we would get here. So if I write over this, let's see, 20 multiplied, I haven't left myself much room here, 20 multiplied by 61 minus 15y plus 12 equals 68. And we could solve this equation to find y, hopefully being the egg muffin 4. So let's see this. We do this, we get 122 minus, oops, sorry, there, forgot to multiply by 10. So 1,220. Multiply 20 by 15, we get 300y plus 12, that should be 12y here. 12y equal to 68. And then we have some like terms here. If we group them together, we have, let's stop this here, we have minus 288y. And if we subtract 68 from 220, we should get minus 1,152, and this calculation is probably a bit more difficult than what we'd expect you to do by hand. So good calculator question, but like I said, you probably wouldn't be expected to do that by hand, but that's how you would do it. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video.